Good morning. On today's Coffee and Cleaners, we'll be going through the TUEC literature that I realized I never shared. I've had this for a long time, and this is a 1916 booklet detailing the different TUEC systems that were available and their installation guidelines, the accessories, etc. Architects and Engineers Edition, this would indicate that this booklet would have been provided to the people who were speccing out these systems for houses and businesses. As it's over 100 years old, it's quite fragile. I've done several videos on the TUEC units themselves, and you're probably already aware from those that they were a high volume, low vacuum, single fan unit that made use of not even cyclonic separation, but basically gravity separation. And here is the chart with all the different models. Let's just get this coffee a little further away because somebody else spilled theirs over here. This might be oil, who knows. But the list of the TUEC machines at the time is quite interesting. The 190 and 210 are most commonly seen in homes, and they were for one operator. 240 was one sweeper high duty, and you'll see some 240s in like large mansion type homes. I think the machine in the TUEC mansion in Portland is a 240. And lots of schools had 300s in them. And some schools even had 4, 6, 800s. Some even had several units. And you can see that they rated their biggest machines to be for up to 6 sweepers. And that would have been driven by a 10-horse motor. It would have been 8 feet tall, or just about, by 30 inches diameter. Just huge. I mean, I would love to see one of those in person because I can't fathom the size of it, really. Over 1,000 pounds and a 5-inch intake and exhaust on the largest machines. I believe the one in Henry Ford's house is a 600 maybe. And I have not seen that in person, but I've seen it in pictures. It is remotely located from the house. It's in the powerhouse, which was also his workshop, and piped through a tunnel into the main house. They make they state the advantages of their way of doing things with one fan, simple, no filters, just a coarse screen, larger piping, larger tools. And looking at all the different accessories that you could get, your standard package would have had a carpet renovator, which was what they called the carpet tool, a hardwood floor tool, a duster, an upholstery tool, and obviously a handle as well as a hose itself. These would have been more sensitive to longer hose lengths. They would have worked well enough if you were using only 25-foot hoses, but when you were using 50, even though the hose was 1 3/4 ID, you would lose quite a bit more airflow, because even though these moved a lot of air, you can see the model numbers were the rated CFM. So the Model 240 was rated to move 240 CFM, which it probably did until you connected a hose to the inlet. But as MS Cooley in Vacuum Cleaning Systems makes note of, the TUEC was the cheapest built-in vacuum you could get, and if you were just doing bare floors, it would work pretty well. So they were used extensively where you had all bare floors and no carpets. Quite a bit of this book is devoted to pictures and listings of all the different places where TUECs had been installed. We have houses on this page, apartments and flat buildings, educational institutions, including Let's see, here's Washington School in Evanston, Illinois on the North Shore. And I think there's a listing for a school in Aurora, Illinois. Maybe not, but I believe Aurora East originally had a TUEC. Of course, that school's been demolished and replaced. Office buildings. Lots of big buildings. Which in my opinion should have had Spencer's, but who knew at the time? It wasn't like you could just go into a showroom and compare the brands. Hotels. In Baltimore was the Hotel Junker. All right. Stores, banks, churches, lodge and club buildings, the Masonic Temple in Des Moines. Des Moines was where, oh, and here's the Des Moines Club building. Des Moines was where I got my first TUEC from. The Model 190 came out of a house on Country Club Boulevard in Des Moines. Miscellaneous. Theaters. There's a picture somewhere on the internet of oh geez, maybe the Los Angeles Palace Theater, and it's a TUEC that's like shoved in under a set of basement stairs. It almost looks like it was moved there based on the piping. So that's my TUEC book. It has been stamped with, I guess, the name of the original dealer, because TUEC had branch offices in different regions, and I guess this was the representative for wherever that is. And on the back is some nice artwork. TUEC, the heart of the home. Well, so this I think is really cool, and I really enjoy having this. I wanted to also use this video to talk a little bit about power nozzles. Now, the early built-in vacuums did not use power nozzles. That was part of the benefit was supposed to be that they cleaned with air alone. Now, TUEC, you may recall, did have a kind of power nozzle available at one point called the TUEC School Tool. But instead of driving a revolving brush, the air turbine motor on this propelled the whole unit, looking a bit like a sled. And it was used to vacuum underneath school desks by just placing this thing in front of a row of desks and letting it crawl under. And then when it got to the end, you yanked it back with the hose and you went to the next row. Somewhere in some basement of some school is a TUEC school tool. And with no identifying marks or anything, it's probably kind of hard to tell what it is. So if you got one, holla at your boy. As another aside here, Howard Earl Hoover in 1919 filed for several different patents on different versions of a power nozzle. I was not aware until recently that there were different versions of this. I was aware that Hoover had taken out one patent for a power nozzle, and my speculation was that this was done to prevent built-in vacuum manufacturers from being able to offer a rotating brush attachment and thereby compete with the Hoover. I thought that they were just protecting their benefit, which was that the Hoover is the only thing you can use that has a revolving brush on the carpet. Well, I don't think they would have bothered to take out several different design patents on this product if it was just a strategic, like, haha, you can't have this now. Uh, so now I wonder if this was actually something that they were maybe going to sell. And I don't think they would sell it through your Hoover man at the department store. This might have been something that they attempted to cross market through the companies that were making built-in vacuums. And a light bulb went off for me, because looking at this simple patent drawing of the system in use with this power nozzle that looks in this drawing quite a bit like a Hoover 102 with no bag on it, but of course the motor is inside the unit. This looks like a real simplified version of a TUEC. That round ball-shaped motor on top, the way the inlet pipe comes in the back. This looks like a 2X system to me, more so than like if they were to base their drawing off of an Arco wand or a Spencer. Well, and interestingly enough, going back to United Electric, they were based in Canton, Ohio. And Hoover obviously was based in North Canton, Ohio. So TUEC had the biggest likelihood of having some kind of a collaborative arrangement with Hoover. And Howard Earl Hoover, in fact, now this says residing at Chicago, but I thought he always lived on the North Shore. But he was a Hoover executive, and he obviously did some designing work for Hoover. He was a relative of the family, but he always lived on the North Shore, probably in a house that of the character that would have had a built-in vacuum if his didn't actually have one. So the patent text is not quite as interesting. These are all available online for your perusal. So these are consecutive. These were all filed at the same time. 973, 974. All right, that's a mistake. These were not all filed at the same time. These were all granted at the same time. So from September through November of 1919, he came up with these different design ideas for this product and sent them all to the patent office, and they were all granted at the same time. When looking at patents, I think the filing date is more helpful in determining like the timeline of things than the issue date, which can be years later. So, who knows if such a thing ever left the prototype stage? Who knows if this were produced, if it actually said Hoover on it? I would assume that they wouldn't miss the opportunity to put their name on a product. Maybe Hoover was thinking about buying 2X and private labeling them. Maybe Hoover was thinking about making their own built-in vacuum, until they realized that the built-in vacuum business is an entirely different kind of market with much smaller volumes than the portable vacuum business. Maybe that wasn't seen to be the case at the time. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of history here, and now I'm on the lookout for a school tool and a 1920s Hoover power nozzle. Keep dreaming.